Hey everyone, it's Nelson Miller here with PA Creative. Welcome to the documentation for the Divi event calendar. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the layout options in our events feed module. Now, in version 2.1, we have completely revamped the layout system. So it's all responsive, it has all the settings you need. We have three different types of like main layouts, grid, list, and cover. So we're going to take a look at them in this video. Let's take a look here. I have just a page on our demo. So I'm going to add a module. So I'll type in event like that, and then you can see events feed. Now, there are some defaults that show up. So when you first add the module to your page, this is actually grid mode, or I should say mode, grid layout. And obviously this can be changed, but we wanted to make it look nice by default, and I think it does. So here we go in the module settings. Now we have other videos about the content and the details here and everything, lots of different videos, but in this particular one, we want to go to the design tab, and we're going to be focused almost entirely in this layout toggle right here. By default, this is what you will see when you go in the design tab in the layout toggle. First, we have an option called layout. And in this dropdown, like I said, there's grid, list, and cover. The second option that you'll see is the number of columns. So right here, it says, well, it's on 3 by default, but I can choose 1 through 4. Let's say I wanted to choose 2 right here. You can see that everything has switched in the builder here to 2 or 4, right? 1, obviously, whatever you want. And you can actually click this little responsive icon. In our modules, we try to add responsive settings just like in Divi modules. So pretty much all the settings are going to have this, making it really responsive. So now when you change this number, it's going to apply to whichever tab you're on. Now right here I'm on desktop. Let's say I wanted 4 on desktop, but then I wanted on tablet. I wanted 3 for some reason. That's not. Oh, let's change it to 1 because it's gonna get pretty tight. And then 1. And let me clarify something. By default, if you had not opened this up, if you had not done anything, what it's going to do is go have 3 on desktop, 2 columns on tablet. And I'm not sure why on the front end, it's going to be 2 on tablet and 1 on phone. And we'll have to check that, make sure that's working. But so it's probably already fine. But this right here is if you want to override that. Like you saw there, it was showing, oh, you know what? That's why it's doing it. It's because I had actually come in here. So by default, it will be 2 on tablet and 1 on phone. But if for some reason you're like, wow, I don't want 2 on tablet, I want 1 there, and I want 4 on desktop or whatever, I doubt you would want more than 1 on phone, but there you go. Now you know that you can change that, and we'll just keep them for default for now. So as far as the layouts, you can obviously see what grid looks like. Let's just quickly look at the other ones. List. List is, I mean, it's not really a list. I guess I just call it that because think of it as like horizontal sections here. When you choose list, you actually get another setting here that pops up. Notice how when I was on grid, you didn't have that. And then on list, you see list type. And again, you could be looking at these descriptions. Any setting is going to have this little question mark, and it will explain what the setting is. By default, the list type is on callout image details. So callout image details. It goes from left to right. Now in this drop down, you can see there's other options. So maybe I want just image and details. And let's take a look at all of them while we're at it. And then that was the one that was default, callout image details. Called out image details button. It adds a 4th column, puts the button over there. And then the next set of options is like the opposite. So details image instead of image details, for example. And then another one would be call out details image. If you want the image on the right there. Another one would be with the button. I kind of like how it is by default, but again, you have options here. One tricky thing here to keep in mind when you're using the list layout is to remember that a column, for the number of columns, we set it to 1 automatically when you choose list, think of it as one column right now. I know that can be confusing, but think of this list layout now as one column. If I was to choose two columns, in fact, we don't even offer 3 and 4 because we're like, there's no way. If I choose that, notice what it does. So again, we're thinking of it as the group as a column. So it can get kind of out of hand. I mean, you get to this and you're like, wow, there's not much room at all. Now, some of these work great, as two columns. That looks great, perfectly fine. But you wouldn't want three. There'd be no room for three. So that's why we've done that. So just kind of keep that in mind. And you may have noticed in here the call out. Here it's completely over here. Now, when we were on grid mode, for example, the call out was up here. We actually have a separate place over in the content tab. If you go under elements right here. So right here, we have one that just says show call out box. So you can see the whole thing is showing and hiding. And we'll talk about this in the other video for details, but I want to show you now. Here you can just show the date. You can show the week, the year. You could show them all. And again, you could hide the whole thing. Now that is kind of confusing because it correlates with this. Like if you chose the one without the call out image and details, well then you couldn't go over here and turn the call out on. That wouldn't make sense. Or like let's say you have it turned on here, and I go over to the elements and I say show call out box. It's just a blank space there then, so you don't really want to do that in list mode. In list mode, you really want to just stick to what's here. Let's take a look at the next one, cover. This is a personal favorite of mine. So what we've done is we take the featured image and we put it behind everything. What we've done because of that, you get the text would be hard to read. So under image down here, right here, we have this new option, show image overlay. Now you could turn it off, but again, you're gonna need, maybe if your images are all like light or dark, it might be okay, but you're probably going to want that. And here you can literally change the opacity of this overlay. So like, see that? Now this setting, image overlay, only is going to show up when you have cover layout chosen, okay? It wouldn't need to show up for the other ones. So cover layout, that's when you get the image overlay. And by default, we have it at like 50%. So there you go. Now, of course, you can change all of these details. Like I said, all of these other settings like the call out box would work perfectly fine in here as well. You may want to hide it completely like that, whatever you want to do. By default, we have the date and the month on. So there you go. Hope that gives you a great idea of the different layouts. We call it grid. I mean, obviously the cover layout is a grid too. You have your columns the same as in grid mode, but had to come up with a name for it. But there you go. Take a look at our other documentation videos for like the details, the pagination, the design settings, the content settings, things like that. And that pretty much wraps up this one here on the layout options.